What's up guys, welcome back and hello if you are new, and I should probably say welcome back to me, because I did sort of take a couple of weeks off. I was on holiday the week before, and then everything just got a little bit too much, truth be told. I'm just about to move flats as well, so we're looking for flats, and on top of work, there was just a lot going on. But I'm happy to say that I feel like I'm a lot more kind of happy and really kind of ready to get back into doing some like cool videos. So with that in mind, I know they might be a little bit late, but I thought I would kick things off with my monthly favourites. So here you have some of my favourite picks from July. They don't necessarily have to be brand new releases, some of them are a bit older, but they're all bands that I think should definitely kind of get a look in. Now the first choice that I kind of kick these videos off with is my feature favourite, which is Aseitas and their brand new album False Peace, which is out via Translation Lost Records. And they are absolutely fantastic, and they kind of crawled up my list of favourites the more I listened to the record, because I think that there's so much variety on display here. There are elements where throughout the 1 hour and 11-minute runtime we go from noise to death metal to black metal. There's hints of progressive kind of rock in there, I guess, post-rock as well. There's so much kind of going on, but one of the things I really like is that the album has 3 sort of set-piece tracks which are roughly about 15 minutes each. You know, you go from Sumac to Gorguts, from Cult of Luna to Meshuggah, for example, on Chrism, and it's just absolutely brilliant. There are songs like The Value in Degradation, which sounds like you're being sort of compressed underwater, but then Horse of Turin has this kind of a lot more melodic and quite melancholic feel to it, which I really, really like. And there's so many sort of peaks and troughs throughout the album that it makes the hour and 10-minute sort of runtime kind of seem quite seamless, to be fair.
I'm not made for this anyway.
Next on my monthly favourites list is A.A. Williams and her album Forever Blue. This record completely passed me by. I've heard A.A. Williams' name being thrown around a lot. Holy Raw released her debut EP, which was really kind of making waves in the world of rock and metal, but I just hadn't listened to her. And I'm really gutted that it took me so long to do so, because there is some amazing melancholic and cinematic moments on Forever Blue. And it's really, really interesting, the levels of kind of creativity that are on display here, and there's a lot of very vulnerable sounds, I think, on this record, and it's definitely not one you should sleep on.
My eyes are blinded and decaying by the foxes.
Completely the other side of the spectrum now is Mephitic by a band called Ahtme, which is released via Unique Leader Records. So as you can imagine, this is technical death metal done to the best degree possible. For me, it reminded me a lot of like Surreption and bands which were really kind of accuracy focused, but also a hell of a lot of melody. You could say maybe Archspire as well. But there's some really cool stuff happening here. It really does kind of do what it says on the tin here. There's absolutely brilliant technical showmanship, and it's one that, even though tech death can be a little bit overbearing at times, I thought there was a lot to latch onto, which was really cool. So the second in my love letter to Translation Lost Records this month is a band called Drouth and their album Excerpts from a Dead Liturgy. So the album combines black metal, death metal, but also has a real sense of progressive to it, because there's only 5 tracks, but each of the 5 songs is round about, I'd say, like 8 minutes long, and really does have that sense of progression where you kind of get a feel for the main sort of melody, but then there are different ideas which are introduced, and some absolutely blistering solos. The solo on An Apiarist, for example, has an amazing sense of melody, but also ensures that that kind of like frosty black metal sound is never sort of too far away at the same time. Now, this next band sounds like a combination of Behemoth meets Numenorian and Death Heaven. So I'm talking about Gaerea, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but their album Limbo. It's a fantastic effort. Again, not so many tracks, but the longer they are, the more kind of emotive and the more it builds up through and through. I think the biggest thing that Gaerea have got is their sense of emotion. Throughout this, you know, it just sounds like the singer is such like a pained soul. And I think it is really tortured black metal done at its finest, but has that sort of power, which is why I kind of said Death Heaven and Behemoth. But again, you know, mentioning Death Heaven, there's also this sense of fragility, which I really enjoyed about the record. The album has an all-encompassing atmosphere which really does swallow you up from the word go. The band have also been making waves throughout the metal community, and if this is kind of, you know, the biggest release they've done so far on Season of Mist, then I can't wait to see what they bring next time. So if there's one thing I really like is kind of out of the box ideas, you know, for promotional material or how you might kind of put your album together. So I thought it was really interesting that the Acacia strain started releasing these individual 7-inch albums, which started to obviously spell out something. In the end, that something was Decay, and that was the second part of their Slow Decay album title. Slow Decay kind of shows that they've got this really sophisticated idea of what they stand for, but also the kind of songwriting that they're putting together. It almost works as a kind of cyclical sound that really sounds like one whole song. It's got an incredible groove, the songs are so solid, and I really do think it's elevating them to become one of the genre leaders of this kind of like really dirty, heavily tuned groove sound. Now, it's definitely been far too long since I've gotten into something absolutely disgusting with death metal. So thankfully, Defeated Sanity are back with their album The Sanguinary Impetus. I feel like I had this big sort of period in my life where I was like maybe 18, 19, where I just listened to all of this really brutal death metal, and that was what really kind of got me going. And Defeated Sanity are the kings. They're so good at that sort of slam, brutal, grotesque sort of sound, but on this one I think they've upped the technical entity even more, and then also the sense of melody as well is absolutely massive. There's some incredible guitar solos on this album. For me, it's really a real step up that they've released on Willowtip here, and one that I keep kind of going back to. Now, the third and final band in my love letter to Translation Loss is Wake and their album Devouring Ruin. Again, similar to Aseitas, they kind of combine this element of death, black metal, prog, and bring it all together to create kind of like a cyclical sound which really does envelop you from the second that you turn the record on right until the very end. Again, it's got a fantastic sense of melody, it's really cohesive in the way that it's put together, it's also very smart in terms of kind of like that ebb and flow idea, and really does kind of take you on a journey. It reminded me of bands that are really pushing that envelope, for example, Nea Blaviscaris or Fallujah, Wilderun, you know, kind of bands that are really trying for something different. So definitely do not sleep on this one, it's an absolutely brilliant release. It's a one-track, 18-minute song, which, as you could probably imagine, I love. It's one song which kind of evolves slowly but surely throughout its listen. And it reminded me a lot of Gorguts' Pleiades Dust, that sort of vibe where you have kind of a main riff that will slowly build and build, and then, you know, it will begin in the first section of the song, then something else will happen, then they'll come back to that initial riff, and then at the end it kind of comes back to that as well. And I think that it's a great example of just what Suffering Hour are capable of. Their previous album, In Passing Ascension, is absolutely brilliant. They've recorded their album on Profound Law, and apparently that's meant to be kind of making its appearance at some point this year, so fingers crossed for that. But this is an absolutely brilliant album. If you're a fan of Gorguts, you'll absolutely love it. So, what fitting way to end my list than with some relaxing French post-rock. Fall of Messiah have released Senicarne, and it's really gotten under my skin. It's kind of, I would say, mostly instrumental, but there are vocals on there. But it's these kind of short 3.5 minute songs where you just get lost in this sense of relaxation and bliss, and particularly in the lockdown, it's definitely become a good, you know, soundtrack to go for walks, maybe just kind of like chill out a little bit. They are also released via Holy Roar, so you know that it's a sign of quality and absolutely brilliant. So those are my picks for July. I hope you enjoyed them, and maybe I might have kind of brought some bands you've never heard of into the light. Let me know in the comments section, and I hope that you guys are all doing well. Give me a follow over on social media. I'm at the Metal Tris on Twitter, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And I will see you next month for my monthly favourites. Take care, my friends.